Welcome to the next episode of Borrowed Destiny's audiobook. Enjoy.
Chapter 1. The Offer's Temptation. Beyond the veil of her protective magic, Azura, the Soul Trader witch, sat at her table to watch human lives unfold before her. The room is dark, with the only light coming from the blue flames of a legion of candles suspended in the air through the power of her magic. Symbols are carved into the walls, powerful warding spells that can keep out even the most powerful of her enemies. Azura cast her spirit into the world of Blissville, watching one of the soulless bodies she created from the shadows. Its inhabitant's contract with her is about to expire, which means that he must be replaced.
"Malik,"
she says, her voice sharp enough to slice the heart of any man.
"You must find a new desperate fortune seeker in need of our services."
Besides her stands one of her grim harbingers, once an ordinary mortal, now twisted into a ghost of himself that only lives to do Azura's bidding. He glances at Azura's physical form, moving in tandem with her spirit, though to Malik, it looks as if she is staring into an abyss of nothing. The light from the candles lit up throughout the space makes shadows dance across Azura's face. She is smiling, but there is no warmth that reaches her eyes. This sneer is cold and calculated instead. For many generations, she is hidden in the silence and the dark, bringing new travelers into her twisted fantasy of paradise. Many became her grim harbingers, increasing her power ever more. Now, she is almost invincible, a god among men who do not even know of her existence, save for a few. Those who do know fear her power and her influence over the world, yet they can do nothing to stop her ever-growing empire. Any attempt is struck down without hesitation.
"I will bring you what you ask, mistress,"
Malik answers in his voice of stone, grating, low, and intimidating. He bows toward Azura before he leaves her sanctuary, searching for a soul without hope. I think it's time. Gole sighs as he watches the sun drop low over the horizon. I don't think anyone else will buy now. The pitiful handful of coins that they've made today jingles in the pouch in his mother's hand as she puts it away. She glances further down the road, clinging to the hope that a few stragglers might still approach. Gole, however, knows that they are not coming. As a child, he would sit next to Kera, waiting for hours past sunset, to no avail. Then, her determination struck him as brave. Now, it seems more like denial. He begins to pack up the cart with a heavy soul. What they have to eat now will last them a day, perhaps, if they manage to stretch it that far. Yet there is nothing for them to do but return home and wish for better days. Kera hates that she has spent the last few years watching the spark of youth disappear from Gole's eyes as the concerns of adulthood have overtaken it. Often she dreams of a different world, one where she could give him everything that he could ever want. He wouldn't have to work until he had no feeling left in the calluses on his hands, and every day came with a fresh promise. Malik stands in the shadows of a building nearby, invisible unless he wishes to be seen. He watches the pair as they finish packing up their pathetic cart and make their way back to Dumbo's now empty streets. Malik has been monitoring Kera since he noticed her illness. Over the last few months, she has been growing progressively weaker, and the scent of true desperation has now begun to permeate the air around her. To Malik, she and her son are the perfect targets for Azura's soul trade. Kera shivers and glances over her shoulder as she and Gole make their way forward. She senses something in the air, a kind of malice that is hovering just out of her reach. It is a feeling that has been creeping up on her for a while. She wonders if it is death, following her closely and waiting for the moment in which it can descend on her and take her beyond this world. The thought makes her shiver and convinces her that the end must be imminent. "Everything all right, Mother?" Gole asks, putting one hand on her arm. Concern flutters across the lines of his tired face as he wonders if her weakness is beginning to overwhelm her. Kera mutters, trying her best to smile despite the lump of anxiety forming in her throat.
I'm a little tired, I'll admit.
We're almost there, Gole offers as consolation, but he can see that his mother is hiding something. He, too, has tasted the malicious twist in the air around them, but he pushes that sensation away. He is certain that he is simply imagining it, worried about what the next day will bring. Malik can see their discomfort, and he almost revels in it. Those moments before he reaches forward to extend his offer are always a source of amusement. Some targets react with more fear than others. Some end themselves rather than allowing the sensation to become overwhelming. It is those who struggle against their own terror that Malik enjoys most. They are not much of a challenge, but they offer vastly more entertainment than those who simply give in. He doesn't make himself known out in the open, instead, waiting for the sad little procession to reach the small hut that they live in. Silently, he follows, standing just outside their window in the twilight, waiting for Kera to be alone.
I think I need to lay down a moment,
Kera says to Gole, holding one hand to her forehead. She's covered in a cold sweat, and her heart is beating fast. She's not sure whether it's her illness or the anxious feeling that is slithering through her veins that is causing all of this. Gole frowns at her with deep concern, but Kera smiles and squeezes his hand.
I'll be fine,
she insists, shoving her own worries deep below her expression.
Why don't you make us something to eat?
Gole reluctantly nods, watching his mother as she stumbles to her bedroom, her hand guiding her along the wall. With difficulty, he swallows his concern and turns around, hoping that there is enough for both of them to eat and keep up their strength. Malik waits until the door closes behind the woman, his hunter's instinct growing more impatient with each passing second. The thrill is undeniable, even for a man made of stone. As soon as Kera sits down on the edge of her Katado bed, her head heavy in her hands, Malik makes his move.
You know,
he says, his voice a calculated whisper as he steps through the walls and out of the shadows with ease.
Life does not have to be so unbearable.
Were she not so weak, Kera would have leaped up with surprise. As it stands, however, she simply looks up at the large, mysterious figure that has so suddenly appeared, her face pale with shock.
Who are you?
She asks, her entire being trembling. Whoever he is, he certainly possesses a power that she could scarcely imagine.
I am from a company called Voden Ventures, and that is all you need to know,
Malik answers dismissively, letting the shadows flow around him to obscure his true face.
I can change your life, if you are willing to make a sacrifice.
Kera can feel the seed of fear growing in the pit of her stomach, but she tries her best not to show it on her face. She's painfully aware that this stranger has no intention of revealing his true identity to her, but something tells her that he does not wish to kill her either. Yet, whatever he is looking to do, it will be some sinister plot that benefits none but himself. Malik allows the fear to strengthen in her heart by remaining silent, waiting for that first question to come. She decides that she has very little to lose. In fact, should she perish on this day, perhaps Gole will suffer less in life. After all, she has become more of a burden than a help to him in recent months.
What is it that you want from me?
She asks of the shadowy figure, straightening her posture in defiance.
I will give it if you leave my son be.
Malik raises an eyebrow, as he'd thought this woman had a more selfless nature than many he'd encountered before. However, he's certain that all humans have their price. They are all willing to sacrifice as long as they receive enough in return. He decides to push onward to see where her limits lie.
It is not what I want, but rather what I can offer you. A life in paradise, away from this wretched place. A life that you could never even dream of. riches beyond your imagination, comfort beyond anything that you've ever seen. Everything you could ever want. All for a small fee, of course.
Kera glances at the door, beyond which Gole must be gathering every scrap of food in their humble home. This man, who has appeared in front of her, exudes a power that she cannot place. There is nothing to suggest that he is lying, but Kera is certain that the fee he is speaking of might be more than she is willing to pay.
My son,
she replies weakly, her eyes turning slowly back to study Malik, though he seems to only exist between the shadows. It is impossible for her to parse out his features.
I care for nothing but his life. If this paradise is meant for me and not for him, I do not want it.
If his heart were not made of stone, Malik might have smiled at that claim. If it is a lie, then she will accept his offer to relieve her own suffering. If it is the truth, then she will endure the necessary suffering to save her little boy. People, Malik believes, all have these weaknesses, these emotional strings that transform them into puppets for the will of Azura.
What would you sacrifice to save him from his pathetic future?
Malik presses, knowing that the die has been cast and that this transaction is as good as made. There is a determination in Kera's eyes, one that answers before she even speaks.
Anything.
Even your very soul?
Malik continues with a dry laugh in his tone. It is a question that often stops people who believe themselves to be compassionate in their tracks. He enjoys seeing the change in their eyes, but this time, Kera's gaze remains the same.
Even that.
Mother? I heard you speaking with some... Who are you?
Thank you for watching Borrow Destiny audiobook visuals. Subscribe to Faded Pages audiobooks channel for new episodes. See you on the next one.